Hey everybody, welcome back to another live stream. It's Wednesday, 4 p.m. again. This morning I had an email coming from someone saying, hey Frida, you know what? Just also please, if you're starting to see this chat, please, this stream, please let me know in the chat quickly whether you can hear me okay, whether the microphone and everything is working properly. Just please write it in the chat quickly and let me know whether you can hear me well. That'd be fantastic. Thank you. So yeah, I had something this morning write me an email, someone, Ian from our club, and he's like, hey Frida, I think you are sending these messages by mistake. All right, thank you, Mark. Good to see you. Thanks for letting me know. So Ian said, Frida, I think I'm getting these messages by mistake because every week I get a message that you are going live on your channel. And it's always the same message. And I'm like, yeah, that's true. I'm going live on my YouTube channel once a week to answer your questions. And this week, I have a special present. Hi, Emma. Good to see you. I've made a video today as well. So today I want to talk not only about your questions, but I also want to talk about anxiety and specifically tinnitus and anxiety. And I made a video as well that I want to hopefully get edited and released on Friday. It's been a very busy and a little bit difficult week. I'm still struggling with my energy sometimes. And if I don't manage to relax and sleep so well, then at times it's still a little bit difficult for me to function properly and achieve all the work that I want to achieve and be focusing on my on focusing on the business and yeah. Mark, yeah, I will get into your question for sure, because I do think it is probably anxiety related as well, right? Yeah, so I want to talk about not only your questions today, as usual, of course, and for everyone who's watching the recording afterwards, you always have the chance on Wednesday at 4 p.m. We go live and you can ask your questions beforehand in the community tab or simply come here into the live stream. Hey, Daniel. Hey, it's a real community event today as well. Daniel, I saw that you booked us in, so then we can finally talk about not only the buddy system, but we can talk a little bit more about your journey in the club as well and help and support you a little bit as well. I think that could be a cool thing. And yeah, so I saw that you booked yourself in for tomorrow morning, I think. So the two of us will speak tomorrow. Very good. All right. So then let me talk a little bit about tinnitus and anxiety, because I think it is very relevant and also related to Mark's question of what do you do when it's super loud? Yeah, I mean, first of all, maybe I start by saying I don't believe that the loudness is not necessarily the same as the level of anxiety. I always say this, like I've seen people with very loud tinnitus have little, a little anxiety or not being that bothered by the tinnitus, and I've seen people with very quiet tinnitus being very bothered by their tinnitus. I mean, the question would be, Mark, you say, what do you do when it's super loud? As in what is super loud? Like, of course, you mean your tinnitus is super loud, but the more important question with this is what happens with you when the tinnitus is super loud. So what is like, if we take this one or two steps further, what is the super loudness of your tinnitus related to? And since we've already spoken, I can just guess that maybe it is higher anxiety. And we talked about this a little bit already, that this vicious cycle of higher anxiety and the tinnitus loudness is one fact for why, of course, the tinnitus, gets louder, we perceive it more, and then all of these things, they go up, the perception is higher, we perceive the tinnitus more, and on top of that, our fight or flight system is constantly reactive. And when that is the case, then of course, in every single thing, we react quite a lot and quite severely. And that in and of itself then drives the system to make our attention that we have on our tinnitus a lot more heightened as well, right? So I can just tell you, and look, like Emma says, and this is really related to what I've been saying right now. Emma says, why is anxiety really bad on some days and not on others, yet the noise is exactly the same? So there you have your counter argument, Mark. So for Emma, on some days it's really bad, but I guess that's for the anxiety level. For all of us, like also for me at the moment, and that's why I'm talking in this video that I'm releasing on Friday about anxiety, I never thought I was going to be an anxious person, or that I was an anxious person. And when I was diagnosed with burnout and also anxiety disorder last year, that was something completely new to me, right? And the guy was like, well, yeah, you have an anxiety disorder. You just had a 30-minute panic attack. And I'm like, okay, maybe he has something there. And it's this thing where we say, Mark says, what do you do when it's super loud? So that leads to the fact that I think either you refer to the tinnitus being super loud, and that also being directly linked to your anxiety or whatever else in terms of negative reactive emotions you experience with your tinnitus. And on the other side, Emma says, why is anxiety really bad on some days and not on others, while the tinnitus stays exactly the same? That just shows that the problem here is not the physiological experience of tinnitus, but the way we hear our tinnitus, right? And the way we react, and the way the conditioned response towards our tinnitus is basically making our fight and flight system in the brain react more intense or less intense. And Mark, of course, in that sense, if the tinnitus is loud and your connection is loud is equal to more anxiety, because that is your conditioned response at the moment, then that's why it is really loud. And then there's one way how you could react to that, and I'm going to get into that in a little bit. And then for Emma, it would be, well, it's quite normal depending on how well we sleep, depending on what else is going on in our life, how supported we feel, how many worries we have, and then just simply day by day stuff, right? Where our anxiety levels are sometimes higher and sometimes lower. And especially in a challenging period. And I used this analogy like a few weeks ago, I think in the live already, like your nervous system is a little bit like this, right? When everything's fine, your nervous system is filled up to here, yeah? And then you have stress at work, family, and something else, and then it goes over, yeah? But when you have tinnitus, the base level of your nervous system might already be up here, yeah? So, and then maybe one day you don't sleep as well, tinnitus is still the same, and then you have something at work or something with the family, and this thing immediately flows over, right? So my opinion to Emma would be, really watch where your reactivity spikes, and that's really an indicator of that, the whole system, your whole nervous system in that state is out of balance. And what do we do? For example, in the club, we have a section, emergency resources and daily relaxation. And it's really important, because when you know that your nervous system is over here, yeah, what do you need to do? You need to counteract this. So when you're in a normal state and you're working and you feel relatively fine and healthy, and you don't feel like you have a little bit of a depressive episode because of the intensity of your tinnitus and the anxiety and everything that comes with it, then it's very easy to not have to do additional measures like meditation or body scans or progressive muscle relaxation or anything that you feel calms your nervous. It could be taking a walk outside and being mindful while walking and paying attention to the birds, to the sounds, doing all of these things. But to be able to ground your nervous system is one of the core abilities that you need in order to show, and this is what I talked to Glenn about in the 100th episode that released last Friday, which I was quite proud of. Nevertheless, that was really an intense week with editing the new the episode, publishing the new cover. By the way, I would love to hear what you guys think of the new podcast cover. I gave a little bit of a I took a while to develop it, but I'm quite happy with it, with the new podcast cover. Yeah. And so Emma, I think that's the reason for why anxiety can be worse, although tinnitus is the same. And for Mark, it is the conditioned response that as soon as the physiological perception of tinnitus is there, your fight or flight kicks in, then the perception of tinnitus gets higher, the anxiety gets also higher, or anxiety or any other negative feeling that is related to it. And Daniel, I'm going to get into your question in just a second. Then, when that happens, then of course it is quite natural for you to be in a natural state where, it goes up and up and up and up, and you hear the tinnitus more and you get more anxious, you get more anxiety inside the body, right? You feel it in your chest or your tummy or where. And this heightened state of anxiety is feedbacking to your brain something's really wrong, yeah? Because the brain can't distinguish that you are reacting to your tinnitus noise, which in fact is a benign body symptom that 20 to 30% of the population have and is absolutely normal. And, at the same time, you are reacting to that have all these feelings inside your body. And then your brain says, okay, this is this thing that's making this with my body, therefore it must be very bad. So we need even more activation to be able to fight it, right? Fight or flight. And one of the things that I can recommend, I don't know what's good for you, Mark, but you can find out for yourself. I think bringing your body in a state of relaxation, even when the tinnitus is very heightened, or doing something different that, to really get to a place where you have this counteracting evidence that on the one hand, you have this heightened state of tinnitus, and on the other hand, you're really relaxing. So I don't know if you want to try out some yoga nidra, guided meditation, and I'll just share in a moment. I said that already in a few weeks back. What I do when I get my spikes, I literally I have this. I can show you guys. I painted the wall last Saturday. First the week before, and then last Saturday I painted the rest. What do you guys think of the color? I think it's quite nice. It's called Jungle. I thought it was quite calming and relaxing. Painting it was not that relaxing. Maybe that's why I'm really tired this week. What I do when I have a spike, I take this play seat. By the way, I also have a ping pong table, a medium size, and a really, really old model train set that my mom just recently sent me. I got this when I was 6 years old. So my mom got this for me when I was 6 years old. Yeah, thanks, Ariel. Appreciate that. I did. Yeah. So I sit on this play seat and I play Formula One or Gran Turismo, and usually until the spike is better again. So simply what I do is I don't get anxious or anything. I sit down, I play something, I don't pay attention to it anymore. And eventually, very likely, after a few hours, maybe only in the evening or the next day, it's died down again. But when it does get so loud, then it's of course very distracting. So then I say okay, there's no use in trying to do a coaching session or talking to someone on the telephone because I don't hear properly anymore. So I'll take it as an excuse to take my, got the laptop in the image. I'll take it as an excuse to do something I love. And that's how I deal with when my tinnitus gets quite loud and intense. Yeah, so there are many ways to deal with it. Maybe we can talk about it tomorrow in accountability as well, Mark. Many different ways of dealing with loud moments of tinnitus and what is meant by loud. What is loud? Yes, the tinnitus can be loud, and yes, it's normal that it fluctuates, but it depends on how we react towards that fluctuation, right? And whether it stays bothersome or it heightens itself up over time, or whether you can, just, accept and acknowledge it and then do something that, is good for you in that moment because you struggle and it's difficult. I think that'd be cool. And then Daniel, what is your opinion on diet and having tinnitus? Very simple. I don't believe doing 100 different diets. If you're relatively sure that you don't have certain allergies and you generally eat relatively well, yeah, you don't eat processed food all the times, etc., then I say keep going. And I eat a relatively balanced diet. I do. Yeah. I'll do that, Daniel. Thank you. So I do have a relatively balanced diet. I don't eat meat that often, but maybe once a week or something like that. And then I do a few supplements, not many. I do magnesium. Magnesium has been shown to be beneficial against hearing loss. So doing a little bit of magnesium is probably never a bad idea, because there are studies that suggest that if we have sufficient magnesium in the system, that can be beneficial for the hearing health. And anything else from supplements really is a little bit like when you go service your car. You don't put oil in your car without measuring how much oil is in there. So I would recommend, when you look for supplements, I honestly don't think your supplements will eliminate your tinnitus. They can certainly help your overall process and your overall how healthy you feel and how well you feel. Absolutely, that can really be helpful. Absolutely, yes. But I certainly wouldn't think that the supplement suddenly cures your tinnitus problem. But I would say that the best way to establish what you need and how much of it, like when you put the oil thingy in the car, you pull it out and say, okay, probably need a liter and a half of oil, right? And you put in a liter and a half of oil. The car has enough oil. Same was true with your body. What do? You go to the doctor, you let the doctor get some blood, and then the doctor says, okay, vitamin D, 4,000 IE for a couple of weeks until your level is back up again. Vitamin B3, by B12, whatnot, is also good. And then omega fats or stuff like that. Like, that's the surest way to find out what your body needs. And I think also the absolute best idea to, make sure that you don't get too much of something you don't need, and to be getting what you're actually missing. So that, I think, is the only thing I can say. Of course, some of these things are not covered by health insurances. I know that I regularly, every 2 years or 3 years, get my blood results done. And then we establish, because, here in Berlin in winter, it's very dark. Vitamin D is usually quite low. So I have to take a good dose of vitamin D. And vitamin Bs, because she said to me, like, burnout and feeling very tired and exhaustion. Vitamin Bs are very important. So we measured all those levels. And then I took certain supplements where we knew, okay, this is a dose that could be supplemental and that could be useful. And Emma, how to slow down and relax in life when you're a busy person or want to be a busy person? Great answer to the last question. Thank you. How to slow down when you are a busy person? I've had to ask myself that question a lot since last year as well. And I came up with one particular solution, and one that I call like time islands for myself. So I can be busy. It doesn't mean that I can't ever be busy again just because I have tinnitus or burnout or I'm stressed. But it does mean that I need these time islands in which I take time for myself and for rest and recuperation. So I have a non-negotiable 1 hour between 2 p.m. and 3 p.m. where I lie down and I listen to an audiobook, or I do a meditation, or I simply lie down and close my eyes. Most of the time I don't sleep because I can't really sleep during the day, but I simply lie down and rest. And that does a great deal for me to get better. Or I take a walk when I feel like taking a walk. And one thing that's in everybody's mouth is mindfulness. I don't really believe so much in mindfulness. I just believe in less distraction, right? So one way is to, for example, lock your phone in a box and do something to not always be distracted, because we always tend to be distracted, and that is basically what keeps us busy, and that's what's burning us out, and that's why we feel stressed out, burned out, and low on energy. So my opinion is, you don't have to be mindful, but you just have to take away some of the distractions. Because when your body and your nervous system do things like you just sit down to read a book, or I'm not talking about watching the TV, because that's like mind games again, right? Like there's always like something engaging you and your brain's always working. So I really think about doing things that you absolutely require very limited amount of attention, like drawing something, or just things that you take for yourself and really paying attention to doing them. Even cooking can be something, or doing chores without thinking about 1,000 different things all the time, doing your chores and paying attention of what you're doing in that moment. I know that many people will call this mindfulness, but the word is so overused nowadays. It's simply paying attention to what you're doing. And when you pay more attention to what you're doing, then you're not constantly stuck in your mind worrying about so many different things. And that's what I'm trying. And these time islands to say, I can be a busy person, no problem. I can do these live streams. I can work on our club. I can do all of these things. But I have to create certain time islands to protect myself in order to help you guys and to be there for my community, right? So I think that's not particularly something where I say it would be a big problem, but to create these time islands, right? And since Daniel asked for it, thank you very much, Daniel. He asked for a quick look into our club. I shall do that for him. And yes, infinity window. What I was talking about before is daily rest meditation. Now you find most of this on YouTube anyways, guided meditations, self-computers. You will find most of this anyways on YouTube or on the internet, but it is really, really important that you know that there are ways of calming down your nervous system, and you can use these ways of calming your nervous system. And in the habit tracker a few weeks ago, I mean, I think I showed this, that the choice point diagram, we talked about this, I think, in one of the last live events, that when you feel that you are very busy and you are constantly hooked on your tinnitus and it's very anxiety provoking and you get anxious and annoyed and frustrated and sad and tired, all of these kind of things, and then you turn to rumination, avoidance, and resistance, away from habituation because you try to solve tinnitus where there's nothing to solve. But when you go towards habituation, you accept the way you think and feel about your tinnitus, you mindfully act to and do the things that you need to be doing in that particular moment and say, okay, what I need right now is a time island. I need some time for myself. And then you do value-driven steps. So you live your life in the way you would live it, despite the presence of tinnitus, showing your brain that you're willing to go about your daily life in the way that you would otherwise. And you know, there are more resources that we have in here. And thank you, Daniel, for asking. Let's see what the latest success story. Ah, nice. Okay. Daniel sharing about exercising. I haven't read that. I will read it later. Okay, Daniel? I love that. Awesome. Let me like that. Ooh, so many likes already. I haven't read that yet, Daniel. Sorry, I was quite busy the last couple of days. Okay, nice. Okay, awesome. Anything else you guys would like to see? Yeah. Daniel had another question. Not yet. Oh, I don't want to end the live stream. I just wanted to end the screen share. There we are. Yeah. So just to say 2 words about the program, acceptance and commitment therapy does not get rid of your tinnitus. I have tinnitus for 15 years now. All the people who are inside the club still have tinnitus and still experience tinnitus. And the goal of the program is not to eliminate tinnitus. The goal of the program is that you have tinnitus, but you could not care less about having tinnitus. And you can go about your life in a happy and healthy way, despite the presence of your tinnitus. And I know that this might sometimes be hard to react and hard to, to grasp the fact. But it is really, really important that you do understand that when your brain learns that you have nothing to fear from tinnitus, that it's not necessary to put you in fight or flight and lose all this energy while perceiving your tinnitus, then you slowly but steadily do get better, 100%. And I can show you, and you can see in the success stories inside the club, that people successfully get better. Maybe not in a week, maybe not in 2 weeks, but they put in the work, they learn all the tools of acceptance and commitment therapy, they join the coaching sessions, and then people do get better and go from bothersome to non-bothersome tinnitus. And it is absolutely possible with the help of acceptance and commitment therapy and the help of a community, right? Not only videos that you look at yourself on the screen and swipe and go like, oh, another CBT video, another CBT video, another CBT video. Everyone can do that. Now, in the age of ChatGPT, everyone can write into ChatGPT and say, how could I deal with my tinnitus to get habituated? Everyone can do that. But what you can't do is you can't replace the fact that you are in there with people from all around the world who support each other. And with a little bit of guidance of someone who's done this with about 500 people. So that's what I wanted to say about my program. I hope, Daniel, it was what you expected. But maybe I'm just not good enough at selling it. Maybe I need someone else to sell my program to really make people understand better what we actually do and why it is so beneficial and why people enjoy it so much. Right. Yeah, painting is hard. My upper back and neck were really, really bad on Saturday afterwards, and it's not that fantastic either. I still have to, when you see it, the lines up there are not very even, so I have to repaint a little bit. It's gotten okay, so at least it's not uneven here everywhere. That's a good start for me, but it could have been better. Daniel, is tinnitus masking with hearing aid solution or a problem? I think it can be both, but it's not a long-term solution. It can be a short-term solution to help your immediate reactivity and to help you sleep and help you to be a little bit less anxious. But I don't think it can be a long-term solution to habituation, because what you basically do is you avoid confronting the negative thoughts and emotions that come with tinnitus, and instead you mask them. And it's a little bit, as soon as like you don't mask them anymore, they're back at full force and they're exactly the same as before. So I do that. Masking with a hearing aid or any other device can be a short-term solution to help and support you. But I do believe in the long run, if you truly want to be habituated and teach your brain that you have nothing to fear from your tinnitus, then the better way to go is to not mask anymore, or to successfully, slowly and steadily to go and use masking less and less, and to get your brain more and more used to the fact that tinnitus is not an actual threat and that you don't have to worry about it. And we have another question in Spanish. Okay, I will answer that question in Spanish first, okay, and then I'm going to translate. And maybe, no, I'll translate. I'll answer first. Hay un tiempo establecido para habituarse. Todas las personas se pueden habituar. So is there a time for habituation? So how long does habituation take? And if everyone is able to habituate to that tinnitus? And there's two parts to this answer. I don't think there's an individual path of how quickly everyone habituates, but I do believe that everyone can habituate. And first of all, I respond in Spanish, and then I will elaborate a little bit in English, okay? No, yo no creo que hay un tiempo establecido para habituarse para individuales. O sea, todo el mundo es distinto. La reacción frente al tinnitus es distinto en cada persona. Por eso también en nuestro programa, en el programa en My Tinnitus Club, tenemos el programa es distinto para cada uno. O sea, hay elementos que son similares, y hay cosas que practicamos como la Acceptance and Commitment Therapy, pero al final cada uno está en su camino, y dependiendo de lo que más le falta para habituarse, lo estamos hablando cada semana en las sesiones de coaching. Y yo creo que es algo muy individual y no hay un tiempo. Hay gente que se habitúan dentro de 2 meses y hay gente que necesitan 2, 3 años. Pero yo lo he visto rápido, yo lo he visto a lo bastante largo, y no tiene nada que ver con la persona, no tiene nada que ver con cuán intenso está el tinnitus o cuánto son las fluctuaciones del tinnitus. No, o sea, es individual a cada persona, como el estilo de vida, cuánto estrés tiene la persona, incluso si no tiene estrés, incluso gente jubilada que no tiene mucho que hacer, aparte de estar con el tinnitus. Entonces esto es también un poco más difícil, ¿no? Porque ya no estás trabajando y no tienes como con qué estar distrayéndote como todos los días. Así que yo no creo que hay un tiempo individual. Y la segunda era, todas las personas se pueden habituar. Yo digo que sí, si tú tienes un cerebro y eres humano, sí te puedes habituar. Es simplemente decir como, míralo de esa forma. Si tú puedes aprender un idioma, como yo, mi lengua materna es alemán, pero yo aprendí inglés y español un poco también. Así que mi cerebro se habituó al hablar idiomas distintos y expresar ideas y conectar como frases al hablar idiomas. Y yo puedo incluso aprender más idiomas, ¿verdad? Y si no hablo un idioma, se va perdiendo también. Eso también es una forma de habituar o de aprender. Y lo mismo es con el tinnitus. El cerebro sí puede entender que tinnitus no es algo peligroso y que poco a poquito eso se puede ir mejorando y el cerebro ya sabe que no es algo peligroso, que simplemente siempre se tiene que luchar contra. Sí. Bueno, espero que eso haya servido. Right. So again, so there is no real time for anyone to get habituated. Some people take a couple of months, some people take a couple of years. I think it's super individual and why people habituate or why they don't habituate. And on the second note, I think that everyone can habituate to tinnitus. So my saying always goes: if you're human, you have a brain, you can habituate to your tinnitus. That's absolutely normal. And there is a way for everyone to be able to habituate. So these studies of 80% habituate and 20% don't, I don't believe in it, because who has surveyed these 20% a year later? Maybe the rest of the 20% is also habituated, right? So I do believe that everyone can and will eventually habituate to the tinnitus. What are your thoughts on, hi Tobias, by the way, nice to see you, inhibitory learning and its role in more long-term effective habituation? Inhibitory learning. Now you're giving me something here. Let me Google that term. Inhibitory learning. Let me... That's a good one. I like it. Very good question. Honestly, I would have to get a little bit deeper into it. So I'm guessing the one part is like exposure therapy, and inhibitory learning is a form of more, what does it say here? To definitely some drugs from using anxiety, and want to take value. Person, so it is still being researched, evidence difference on the actual exposure what you're doing, rather the way you're approaching it. With the inhibitory learning model, you are teaching your brain more than reducing anxiety. Exposures are all about what can your brain learn from this experience. It doesn't matter if your anxiety reduces or not, might even not matter if you have anxiety while you're doing the exposure. The whole mindset is about your brain learning something new. So it was facing fear that really caused some anxiety. The way I approach it is designed to face the fear, expose yourself, and respond differently to the fear. You're so focused on what I'm teaching my brain every moment, words I'm saying, what I'm thinking, how I'm behaving. I think that's very good, and it sounds like a combination of, already exposure therapy and combining value-based living, right? So in the moment of exposing, to do value-based living and say, like, I'm teaching myself something. So it is a little bit of self-compassion and also value-based living plus exposure therapy. I'm not the biggest fan of complete exposure therapy. So for example, if someone has severe fear of anxiety of flying, right? Then it's not the best idea to put them in a plane to Australia for 24 hours. Would not be smart, right? Too big a step. But what we can do is, like, maybe we can have them watch some videos on YouTube where a captain explains, who has been flying planes for 20 years, that at any given time there's 1.2 million airplanes in the sky in the whole world. So you don't really have to worry too much about it, because only a few of them are ever crashing every few months or even years only. And the big airlines mostly never crash. So, right, things like that. Or then eventually going into a simulator with that person and teaching them, look, here's a simulator. This is how the plane works. You can fly the plane yourself. And produce the anxiety reaction and then say, okay, here's the anxiety reaction, but that's okay. To do it slowly, because when you overwhelm the person, the anxiety reaction is in fact too much, and it becomes too draining and too difficult for the person to be able to continue with the exposure, right? So I would say, in the same way that you want to, when you go through exposure therapy, you want to be going like slowly, and you want to go from one thing after the next. I think it's really, really important that we do exactly the same with tinnitus as well, and not go full speeds when someone is really highly disturbed by their tinnitus, and then masking might still be a very good idea for a period of time until they might be able to do 20 seconds without masking, or a minute without masking. So I don't believe in this like ripping out your masking and saying I'm never going to do it again, because why? Like, you are entitled to something that feels good for you, and where you feel like you can do it in your own speed, in your own time, and your brain will learn in that way as well. And your brain will learn that you're actually taking care of yourself, and you're not forcing yourself to do something that you might not want to do in that very moment, right? That's quite important. All right. Okay. If we don't have any more questions, and I believe that these live talks, I'll probably now do them every second week. Maybe a little bit too intense to do them every week, since we also have our coaching sessions, and the coaching sessions are, of course, longer and more important also for the community members. I see that there are a lot of community members in the live stream today, who will obviously also be tomorrow in the club meeting, hopefully, guys. And I think it is always a lot for me to do many different things throughout the week. So maybe I will try to cut back a little bit. And it doesn't seem like all the new subscribers are getting too much value out of these lives anyways. I know you guys do, but you're also on the platform, so I'll see you anyways on Thursday always. But we'll see. I'll see whether I'll keep them every week, or if we just stick to half an hour or something. I think that's important. Daniel, yeah, I can say a sentence or two, and then we can finish this live stream. I talked about sleep a lot last week in the live as well. And it's still on the channel, and also the other videos where I talk about tinnitus and sleep. The thing with sleep is, it's not your tinnitus that keeps you from sleeping. It is your reaction towards the tinnitus. Again, the fight or flight that eliminates melatonin from your bloodstream, and it takes us 10 to 30 minutes to fall asleep, but it takes us less than a few seconds to wake up again. Yeah. And that's simply because we're geared for survival and not for happiness and sleeping, but for surviving. And it's more important that we're immediately awake than being completely rested and dead, so to say. So it is very important to know that your brain can't distinguish why you are anxious and upset. It only knows that in that state you won't be able to sleep. So the reason when you have tinnitus and you're tossing and turning and you can't get to sleep, then it's not because of the physiological experience of your tinnitus, but it is because your brain is perceiving a threat to be there. So the best way to deal with this, and I always say this to people, I personally sleep with an earplug and my other ear is deaf. I take my hearing aid out, I put an earplug in, so I don't hear the lovely neighbors and the kiddos running around upstairs when they have a nightmare at 3 a.m., which sometimes they do. And they have like very old wooden floors here in Berlin. Look beautiful, but from a noise perspective, not very practical for getting your rest. And what I will say is, the best thing that you can do apart from sleeping, and this is in the interview with Dr. Guy Meadows also that I shared in the club, is to lie awake and rest rather than toss and turn. Because when you toss and turn and you're fretting about not being able to sleep, then it's a little bit like you were fighting with someone. And imagine if you fight with someone, how that leaves you after 6 hours of fighting with someone. You're absolutely drained. Whereas if you just lie there and rest and just relax a little bit while you're not really sleeping yet, right? You create the best conditions to eventually being bored by just lying there resting, but you create the best conditions for you to be able to go back to sleep again. But when you're constantly like, oh, my tinnitus, that's why I can't fall asleep. And then, it's like, oh my God, first my tinnitus, and now it's already 2 hours in and I still am awake. And, that sort of like cycle keeps going and going, and that keeps stressing you out. And that's why you can't sleep. So if like, okay, well, I might not be sleeping right now, but eventually I will fall asleep. So, the more I just lie here and relax, the more chilled I will feel tomorrow. And we talked a lot about this original and amplified pain, and that really goes for insomnia as well. The original pain of only having slept 4 or 5 hours is not nice, and we don't feel good. But all the amplified pain can make up to 80% of why you feel so wretched and dreadful the next day when you have insomnia. Because it's not only the not sleeping, it's the constant battle throughout the whole night with falling asleep that's leaving you so drained. So try it out for size. Lie awake in the middle of the night in your bed, chilling is a fantastic way to, simply being there and to getting a lot of energy that you will need for your day, rather than struggling with your tinnitus and the fact that you still haven't been able to sleep, right? So that's a tip that I can, yeah. And Emma, that's a repetitive cycle, right? Insomnia leaves you anxious, and that in and of itself starts to make a conditioning whereby you feel like sleep is something dangerous. And then, I had this a while back, a few years back, before I discovered Dr. Guy Meadows as well, where, sleep would have gotten so dangerous for me that my brain and heart would literally wake me up the minute I fell asleep. That is so frustrating when you have insomnia and you're being woken up by your brain and your nervous system because it says, no, it's dangerous, don't fall asleep. But it's normal. Realize that it's normal. And if you take the energy out of it, right, it's enough to just rest. You'll be fine. And I'm telling you, you'll be feeling up to 80% better if you just allow yourself. It's okay to be anxious for a while, then the anxiety is going away again, and just chill and relax in your bed. Eventually you'll fall asleep and you feel so much better the next day. Try it out. I promise you, it'll be so much better. And I have this interview with Dr. Guy Meadows in the club. Maybe I can show you guys as well. This one. Not the daily chit chat, but it is down here in Tinnitus and Sleep. The interview that I did with the sleep scientist from London, Dr. Guy Meadows. A very cool interview, an hour and 14 minutes, where we discuss how tinnitus and insomnia influence each other and what you can do to that side. And that's a little bit what Tobias said about inhibitory learning and habituation and exposure, classic exposure. So what he says, right, is accepting the discomfort that comes with tinnitus or not sleeping in the case of insomnia, Emma, and committing to the values that are important for us in living our life, and then teaching the brain that in fact we're okay. And through these concepts of original and amplified pain, for example, we learn that in fact, right, there's a sentence, we struggle more in imagination than in reality, which is true, because we struggle upon the thoughts that we have that create a physiological reaction that makes us anxious, that confirms to our brain that our situation is more dire than we think, right? And that cycle repeats and repeats and repeats, and we're stuck. Yeah. So I think, Emma, it's probably both. But, the insomnia and the sleep anxiety is something that very quickly becomes out of bounds and just, maintains itself. And the tinnitus is like, yeah, I'm here to factor in too. Like, yeah, let's do this. I'm not letting you, and so on and so forth, right? But just be gentle with yourself. It will pass 100%. I'm telling you, it passed for me, for many other people as well. And I have excerpts from that interview with Dr. Guy Meadows here also on my YouTube channel. There's one playlist where I have sleep advice, and there's an excerpt from that interview as well that you can watch. And in general, I want to recommend anyways to all the people also watching the recording often afterwards. We have quite a lot of content in these playlists, and I try to curate them for everyone, like people who are very at the start of their tinnitus journey, people who are wanting to understand a little bit more about acceptance and commitment, and then further on, some success stories from our club and people who've been in the club and who really got a lot out of the club. And if you like the methodology and everything that we do from an acceptance and commitment standpoint and for people to habituate, then at that point, might you want to jump from all the resources that we have on YouTube to go and check out the club, the weekly coaching sessions, and the online course program and manuals that we have inside. Yeah. Hey, Karen. Yes, and I saw that Karen is our first ever YouTube supporter. I can openly share that Karen, that's why she has like a blue star there, because you have a support me subscription for, I think, $9 a month or something like that. And that's why Karen has this little blue star. And that I think is very cool. So not only thank you so much for supporting this YouTube channel and my work here. And I think maybe I should make a goal, like if we have 10 of these blue subscribers on YouTube, I keep the weekly live streams going. So for $9.99, I keep the weekly live streams going, or some stuff like that. Maybe other creators do that too. Maybe I should do that too. And if we don't do that, then I just do a session for the members with the blue thingy. Yeah, well, welcome to capitalism, right? Yeah. Nah. We'll see, but thank you very much, Karen. I really appreciate that. I really appreciate the support that you've been giving also through the community and to my program, and also here on YouTube. It is not an easy space, but honesty will last the longest time. To being honest in this business and to not only give people hearing aid masks for thousands of dollars and then say, here you are, take them, mask your tinnitus. That's all we can do, and that's it. Is not something that I want to get in on. And I know that my approach takes a lot longer for people to understand and until people commit to going with our approach. So I am really, really, really appreciative of every single one of you guys supporting, because that's one of the reasons why last year has been so difficult and why I'm still struggling to, to turn to a turning point where enough people understand it so that we can do it, so that I can build it exactly the way we want. I would love to have a lot more resources. I'd love to have the ability to pay people to come onto the podcast more often, or to get even more relevant people on the podcast and experts for the community, hire someone else to be working in the community. So to not only have to do all of it myself, which I'm just too limited with my burnout from last year. But yeah, I committed to having the patience to do everything slow. But I do really want to thank each and every single one of you. We've grown this channel significantly over the last few months, over 25,000 subscribers. And even if we only have a few people showing up for the live event, I think these can be really valuable because they are later on turned into videos that stay inside YouTube and people can rewatch them at any time. So I think there's tons of values in these live events every week, and I'd love to keep them going. But of course, as soon as I have more incentives as well, people subscribing and being willing to give a little bit of money for these YouTube streams as well, that is something that's really appreciated. And that's why, thank you so much, Karen. And yeah, I think you're talking about Jack Rubinacci. Yeah, Jack and I wanted to do another live stream on Instagram, but I should invite him maybe also for YouTube live stream soon. Maybe we could do that, Jack and I. I think that would be a nice idea. He's a really cool, nice guy from Oslo, Norway. And he's a really nice guy. And Karen, I haven't forgotten your message, or I have seen it inside the club, and I'm still planning on responding to you. But I think what we can also do what we can also do in terms of talking about it in the accountability a little bit, either before the meeting, a couple of minutes before the meeting tomorrow, or a couple of minutes afterwards. If you just stay on the meeting tomorrow, then we can talk about the tinnitus and the nerve damage question you had. Yeah. Right. Okay. Ja, Kai, sehr gerne. Hoffe, dir geht's besser. Schön, dich kennengelernt zu haben. Freue mich, wenn du auch mal bei uns im Club vorbeischaust. Exactly. For the Germans here. Okay, guys, it was another good live session. We have another 50 minutes. I always say I want to stick to 30, but we always run over time. Yeah, I hope that answered most of the questions that we have been taking today. For the guys from the community, Ariel, Daniel, Tobiah, and Karen, and who else was in here today? Mark was also in here today. I'll see you guys tomorrow in the community event, 7 p.m. as usual, same time, accountability check-in, talk about your goals. Since I have some of you already here from the community, I will post that please come prepared. So think about what your goals are, what you're particularly struggling with at the moment, so that we can not turn this in a 2-hour session, which will be draining for you guys and for me, but that we can run through it relatively quickly. But I will give you an incentive of how to answer these questions and what you can do to prepare yourself for the accountability check-in. Ricardo de la Fuente, hola de México, saludos, cabrón, amigo. Yo viví en el DF un tiempo también. I lived in Mexico City for a while. So already a way back, but I lived in Mexico City for a while as well, yeah. But yeah, good old times. Been very, very fun times for me. When I finished my high school diploma in Germany, it's called Abitur. And when I started coming back to Germany for working and stuff like that, and then doing more adult things, I was able to travel a lot. And for that, I'm very grateful. But yeah, now it's time to settle down, tailor to this business, help people with tinnitus, and on the way to reach people from all over the world. It's pretty cool, eh? Ricardo, ahí teníamos una pregunta en español y ya respondí, así que va a haber el recording de esa sesión después, lo vas a poder ver, y fue como después de 20 minutos, 20, 25 minutos, algo así, para que sepas, para que lo puedas ver después si quieres. Yeah. Alrighty, guys. It was lovely to see you all. Ha! Ricardo, you're asking a question that we already have. I always say it, if people show up on time, then you get all the questions answered that you might have. Daniel already asked, what do we think about supplements? I think magnesium is a good idea. Don't overdo it, because otherwise you get the shitters, and you might have to run to the bathroom a lot. But that's the only side effect that you can get from magnesium. And I think magnesium is, if you have a good form of magnesium, one that you can deal with well, magnesium is a very good supplement for your ears, because there are studies, you can Google that as well, studies that suggest that magnesium is beneficial for hearing loss, for preventing hearing loss, and for keeping good auditory health. And before I forget, if you guys want to save this, here is the link to all of the resources again. So you click on the link, you see all the resources, including my free 4-day email course, the Digital Relief Starter Kit, as well as the link to our online club, etc. But no need to talk about this too much. But that's what you guys can check out here. When you click on that link, linktree/outringtinnitus, and yeah, then I hope that this was useful again for you. I am going to go finish a little bit of work, and then I'm going to go and lie down and read a little bit of Lord of the Rings. I'm currently reading Lord of the Rings. Very nice. I'm not sure if the copywriters, or this is something that I wanted to do for YouTube. I thought that would be really, really cool. Copyright, Lord of the Rings. Copyright, 70 years. So the copyright, in 2043. Okay, so not yet. Because I thought it would be really cool to sort of like do, what about if we do, if Frodo, instead of having a ring, he had a ringing and he needs to habituate. And we do podcast episodes like that, and throwing in acceptance and commitment and all of these kind of things in there. But unfortunately, due to copyright, I would probably have to call him Fredo Boggons or something like that. Fredo Boggons from the Shore Roll or something like that. We'll see. I'll think about something. I can definitely think about some stories. I love the Santa one, but I'm not sure how popular it was with you guys. Santa and his Jingle Bells and his Jingle Bell story. I thought it was such a cool story, but it didn't really get any views, and it doesn't seem like people loved it so much. I was a little bit sad about that, because I thought about that story long and hard together with Mr. ChatGPT, and went back and forth with him to creating the perfect Christmas story. But it didn't hit as much as I wanted it to. But that's okay. That's life. But that was one of my ideas, to make like some more storytelling of telling you guys how you can get habituated and how overall things could work out. But anyways, thank you all for joining today. Look, I could have even set a goal, 10 super chats, getting money and stuff like that. Very fun. But it is helpful if you want to support me to keep these live going every week. Then you become one of these monthly subscribers for $10. I will also, if you become a subscriber, include the digital relief package. That I will make sure of. That the digital relief package, which is usually $10 for all the YouTube people, you can get it for free. If you become a monthly supporter, you will get the Tinnitus digital relief package. And I will send that to you, Karen, as well, okay? I'll send it to you in the club. I'll send you the link in the club to the digital relief package. Alrighty, okay. Love it. Thank you guys for being here today. It was a nice live again. But I am, I think, done for today. And then I wish you guys a good rest of the week. For those of you in the club, I'll see you tomorrow. And yeah, Frida out, I would say. On Friday, we have another video talking me a little bit more about anxiety. And then that's it. I'll see you guys maybe next week. We'll see. If we get 10 subscribers until next week, then you'll see me next week. Otherwise, in 2 weeks. And the people in the community, I'll see you in the community. All right, guys. See you then. Bye-bye. It's dark. It's dark. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye, everyone. All right. Turn this off. Ba, ba, ba. Da, da, da.